Welcome to 3 Minutes of History. I'm your future history teacher, Chris Oxenford, and let's get started.
April 26, 1564. Stratford-upon-Avon, England. One of the most famous playwrights in English history is born. William Shakespeare was the son of John Shakespeare, a city alderman, and Mary Arden, the daughter of a wealthy local farmer. Shakespeare was educated at the local free school in Stratford, the King's New School, where he would have learned Latin and studied classical authors. In November of 1582, Shakespeare married Anna Hathaway. The couple would remain married for the rest of his life. Little is known about what their marriage was actually like. The fact that William spent much of his married life in London has led some historians to suspect that their marriage was unhappy. But others have noted that William took pains to return to Stratford to visit his wife, and that when he retired from the theatre, he chose to return to her rather than continue to live in London. Modern historians also do not know exactly when Shakespeare left Stratford to start his famous career in the London theatre. It is speculated that the play The Two Gentlemen of Verona was his first or one of his first plays, and because of the historical references in the text of Two Gentlemen, it could not have been written before the year 1589. It is also known that in 1597, Shakespeare was rich enough to purchase one of the largest houses in Stratford, the so-called New Place, suggesting that by that point in his career, it was already flourishing. Indeed, just 2 years later, Shakespeare and his theatre company, the Lord Chamberlain's Men, were able to build their own theatre on the south bank of the Thames, the Globe. Shakespeare's early plays were mostly comedies and histories. But like all performers, Shakespeare and his acting troupe had to adapt to the changing tastes of the audience. After the death of Queen Elizabeth I in 1603 and the coronation of King James I, Shakespeare turned more to tragedy and tragicomedy, with Hamlet, King Lear, Othello, and Macbeth all being published during this period. In addition to his work as a playwright, Shakespeare also acted in many of the Lord Chamberlain's men's performances, often playing the kingly roles in each of his plays. By 1613, Shakespeare's career had begun to fall off. Most of the plays published in this period between 1608 and 1613 were collaborations between Shakespeare and a younger playwright, John Fletcher. After 1613, no further plays were attributed to Shakespeare's pen. Although retirement as it currently exists was virtually unknown in the 17th century, due to repeated outbreaks of plague in London, job opportunities for playwrights were few and far between, and the theatres were often closed due to health concerns. And so by 1613, Shakespeare was virtually retired. He would die 3 years later in 1616, and was survived by his wife and 2 daughters. Shakespeare left most of his fortune to his eldest daughter, Susanna, who had married the local doctor. Famously, he left his second-best bed to his wife, which some historians have suggested may have been an insult, while others have claimed it was the tradition at the time. Shakespeare's enduring legacy and the survival of his works was recognized by his contemporaries almost from the time of his death. In eulogies and funeral plaques, Shakespeare was compared to famous authors like Socrates and Virgil. A completed volume of his works, the First Folio, was published in 1623, 7 years after his death. In 2006, a copy of this printed edition, the First Folio, a surviving original, was sold for $2.8 million at auction, showing that Shakespeare's legacy continues to endure until this very day.
This has been 3 Minutes of History. I'm Chris Oxenford. Thank you for joining me.